But I'll be honest with you, Mersh. You have a bias towards CUMiA. You said it to your audience.
You know what?
I think you drove Bobo or somebody to the studio and you wanted a little bit of time on the studio. Isn't that what you said?
I like how he kind of hears the story but doesn't know the story. Close enough, though. Sure, we'll give that to you. Sure. By the way, all of this makes Anthony CUMiA not a pedophile.
You didn't get it? You didn't get that precious time? Is that where the negative...
And no, actually, it wasn't. It was a combination of things, Karmic. For one, they knew who I was, and then they pretended like they didn't know who I was that day. But they very much knew who I was. And honestly, the whole day was a bummer, but I didn't really have beef with them until Kenny yelled at me about the breakfast. Club Soda Kenny was the beginning of where I lost my shit with them. It's one thing to like waste my time, have me go out there. They literally had me set up through security, so I had a pass to go up there. It was all set in stone. And then they brought me up there specifically to waste my time, which is fine. But then to have Kenny come out and humiliate me for no reason, that's what made me go, all right, it's one thing to waste my time. That shit happens. That was an era of my life where I was very poor and I was going to a lot of different shows. I was doing a lot of different spots for almost no money. I was doing a lot of auditions. I was doing a lot of headshots made out of pocket for money I didn't have. I went all out working at a pizzeria, struggling to try to make it. And I was used to disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. I could have dealt with the disappointment. It was the screaming at me about breakfast just for his own amusement shit that I went, all right, dog, I will remember this. And that is why I will never not be generous. Because I always will remember the fucking, the treatment you get. Like on a day where you're so broke you couldn't afford breakfast. Everyone there is rich and they're all going to get their breakfast provided by Sirius for free. Who cares? It's from an expense account anyway. To order an egg sandwich and an orange, I think a coffee and an egg sandwich. And to scream at me like I was the fucking worst villain in the world. This is now to this day why if somebody's nice to me, they're a fan, they're a supporter, they make art for the show, they do something nice for me. If I run into them or they're if they're around me, I'm going to make sure that I feed them. I'm going to make sure I buy them a drink. I want to make sure that I'm like, I don't ever want to be that motherfucker that like just is horrible to somebody who genuinely is well-meaning towards me. That's all. So you're a little right, Karmic, but you're kind of oversimplifying it to make it sound like I expected to go there and they were going to make the whole show, the MERSH show that day. That's not quite what it was, but it was just, I was supposed to go in studio with him and show the footage and explain how the day went and stuff like from a regular person's perspective. And none of that happened. And then it was the yelling at me about breakfast. Club Soda Kenny was the reason I was like, if I ever get a chance, I will fuck these three niggas over every chance I get for the rest of my life. If I ever have just a little bit more power, clout, or money than them, I will do whatever I can to make their lives hell. And I have. But that doesn't mean what I say isn't true. I wouldn't just make up blatant lies about CUMiA that he could easily sue me and ruin my life over. It's not like I came out and said I was raped by Anthony CUMiA. That would be insane.
Tell me more about this moment where you felt you've been
I did.
treated poorly.
I just did. I did. Oh, do you want me to go in depth more? Okay, so the worst part was, what I'm saying was at one point an intern came up and he saw me and I had a pass. So obviously I was a guest of the show. And an intern, I can't remember who, came up to me and was like, hey, what did you want? And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't want anything. What are you talking about? And he goes, no, he meant he's like, for breakfast. We're doing our breakfast order. And he was writing shit down. And I go, oh. I said, well, what kind of breakfast? Like, what are the options? Like, what do you mean breakfast? Like, what can I have? You know what I mean? He goes, it's like a regular deli or whatever, bro. So just think like regular New York deli shit. And I was like, oh, cool. Could I get, and I think I got a sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel. If I can't remember, it's been so long. It might have been on a roll, but it was definitely some circular. It was either on a poppy roll or fucking some kind of bagel, right? I think it was a roll. And I was like, let me just get a sausage, egg, and cheese. And he goes, do you want anything else? And I was like, yeah, let me just get a coffee or whatever. And he was like, okay, cool. And he wrote it down. So a little bit time goes by. They bring Bobo in. They never bring me in. I just sit out there. And I'm like, and I even asked one of the guys at one point, I'm like, did they know that I was the one to film this stuff? They were supposed to bring me in. And he's like, yeah, man, they're just, I don't know what to tell you, man. And I was like, all right. So then I just sat there. And I was kind of like bummed about it, whatever. And then the food came. And I was at the time very broke, very starving. Keep in mind, I was working at a pizzeria. I was doing comedy at night on Long Island a lot. And then trying to go home and get some sleep. So I had to go home and I'm a night owl. I had to be up. So I didn't get any sleep either because I couldn't sleep that night. So I had to be on a train to New York City at like 4 a.m. to get there on time. Because you had to be in the city. I had to meet up with Bobo, and then we went to the studio, and we had to be there by 6 a.m. So, we get there, whatever, so I was up early. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I was fucking broke at the time. I had to spend my money on a train to get out there and a subway, all this shit, right? So just getting a fucking egg sandwich and a coffee means a lot. You're like, damn, I'm fucking starving, And so whenever I start eating, bro, Club Soda Kenny comes out and fucking screams at me. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? I was just having an egg sandwich. And he's like, who gave you that? And I was like, they were just taking a breakfast order and I just told them what I wanted. And he's like, yeah, did they tell you you could have food? Who told you that? And I was like, I don't remember. And because I didn't want to throw the fucking intern under the bus. And he's like, which person was it? And I was like, I don't honestly remember, man. And he knew I was full of shit, and he was talking about kicking me out and screaming at me. He's like, that food's not for you. And I was like, all right, my man. I apologized profusely. I was like, I'm very sorry. And I did not know that was not allowed. But he wanted, like a woman does, he wanted to keep over and over again trying to ask me the same question and yell at me again about it. And I was like, let's just get over it. It's just a bagel. I was like, I'll pay it back if I have to. Which was a bluff because I don't even think I had the money on me at the time to pay it back. But again, there's a way to treat people. And I generally don't have a problem with people who don't give me what I want. It would be a very unreasonable way to go about life, Karmic, for me to be upset with people or generally dislike people just because they didn't give me what I want. I can argue, though, however, that as somebody myself who gets put in positions where I can't give people what they want or simply don't want to give them what they want, there's still a way to go about it. And there's just, in general, a way that you treat people. So there are plenty of scenarios where would I have walked away that day very disappointed and dejected and sad and felt like I'd wasted my whole weekend and all that? Yes, absolutely. Would I have walked away from that moment disappointed in my so-called, these dudes I looked up to, guys that at the time, you could probably say they were my heroes, being disappointed in how it plays out? Yeah, but I would, you get over it. But when you go out of your way to be fucking disrespectful, I don't know, man, that just stirs something up in me. It makes me want to ensure that, I can be a goddamn stick in the mud at any time for you. It brings me joy.
A chauffeur, if you will.